Okay, so we're going to make this a relatively short video because we'll just talk about the adrenal medulla and then the pineal gland, rather, and then we'll finish off with our last video over the pancreas. So the adrenal medulla includes the chromaffin cells. They produce epinephrine and norepinephrine, which I like to call the artists formerly known as adrenaline and noradrenaline. These hormones, they cause an elevation of blood glucose, they cause vascular constriction, they cause the heart to beat faster, they cause blood to be diverted to the brain and the heart and skeletal muscle, they cause bronchial dilation. Everything that you would associate with a sympathetic response is mediated by these two hormones, epinephrine and norepinephrine, as they're released from the adrenal medulla. And of course, you remember how the sympathetic nervous system directly innervates the adrenal medulla with those preganglionic, lightly myelinated sympathetic fibers, which release acetylcholine into the adrenal medulla, prompting the release of epinephrine and norepinephrine. Epinephrine, it stimulates the metabolic activities, bronchial dilation, like we said, blood flow to skeletal muscles in the heart. Norepinephrine influences peripheral vasoconstriction, as well as blood pressure. So as we look at the stress response, we see the short-term stress response mediated by the sympathetic nervous system directly through the innervation via those preganglionic sympathetic fibers of the adrenal medulla, or the adrenal medulla is again innervated by those preganglionic sympathetic fibers, and it prompts the release of the catecholamines epinephrine and norepinephrine. Short-term stress response includes increased heart rate, blood pressure. The liver begins to convert glycogen to glucose, so it elevates blood glucose. We get dilation of the bronchioles, which increases the ability for the lungs to ventilate. And also we get changes in blood flow patterns, diverting blood to skeletal muscle, the brain, and the heart. Okay? And we also get an increase in metabolic rate. So everything associated with the sympathetic response can be associated with this release of catecholamines in the short-term stress response. Now, the long-term stress response, we have the hypothalamus, again in control of this autonomic nervous system, or this portion of the autonomic nervous system. But this time, the hypothalamus is releasing corticotropin-releasing hormone. And corticotropin-releasing hormone, you probably remember, is getting to the anterior pituitary in which way? And I hope you're thinking the hypophyseal portal system, right? It's getting on at the primary capillary plexus, taking the portal veins to the secondary capillary plexus, where it prompts the release of ACTH, or adrenocorticotropic hormone, from the anterior pituitary. That hormone makes its way through the vascular system and stimulates cells of the adrenal cortex to release the mineral corticoids and glucocorticoids. The principal glucocorticoid is cortisol. The principal mineral corticoid is aldosterone, so we get retention of sodium and water by the kidneys, which increases blood volume and blood pressure. The glucocorticoids, i.e. cortisol, again is involved in mobilizing fats and proteins and allowing glucose to be broken down for energy, increasing blood glucose, and also immunosuppression. So now we're up to 4 hormones that increase blood glucose. We have growth hormone, right? We have cortisol, or the glucocorticoids, and now we have epinephrine and norepinephrine, all increasing blood glucose. The pineal gland, you probably remember, is part of the epithalamus, which is part of the diencephalon. And it's a small gland. It hangs from the roof of the third ventricle, and it produces melatonin, which is derived from serotonin. Melatonin can affect timing of sexual maturation and puberty, day and night cycles. It also is involved in physiological processes, or can affect physiological processes that show rhythmic variation, like differences or changes in body temperature, sleep, as well as appetite. Some of you maybe have experienced taking melatonin in like a supplement form. Some people take it to combat jet lag or with shift work. I can truthfully say that I'm unaware of how much evidence lies behind the advice for taking melatonin for those types of activities. Okay, so that ends this video, and we'll pick up with our last video over the pancreas coming up next.